What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video. Today's going to be a very interesting video, bringing on a guy that I did some time with, a guy that I tried to help get out of prison because he deserved to get out of prison. He's been through shit that 99% of the people in federal prison or state prison never have to go through. But at the end of the day, man, this brother made it. So, Lucas, tell the people who you are, tell them where you're from, and let's talk a little bit about you and your situation, bro.
My name is Lucas. I'm out of Kansas City, Missouri. I got locked up in 2007. It was I got 10 years for my conspiracy, and then I got 5 years for the gun, so they ran it consecutive. So I got 15 years total. I ended up, I'm half Mexican, half white, so that's probably the biggest thing. So when you're Mexican, when you hit a yard or anywhere, first thing you get is your race comes up to you. So, you know, they ask you who you run with. They want to see your tattoos. I'm hang out with all black people in the world. So none of my guys got locked up. I took the case. No one else came down. So I knew that I would be kind of, out of my people, I was the only one. So I was like, you know, I told a rep or whatever, I'm like, hey, straight up, I don't run with nobody. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. He's like, all right, well, we're the Pisces and shit. Like, it's a union. We're not a gang. A lot of people look at them as a gang, and I guess technically it's a gang, but it's not like pay dues. It's not like there's no requirements other than if another Pisces is in trouble, you jump in. That's the only rule you got. So I get locked up. I've just been out for about 2 years, 4-time cancer survivor. Basically, a year after I was locked, well, it was about 2 years after I was locked up, I had cancer, fought it 4 more times, and then I got out, been cancer-free for about 2 years now almost. So, been in remission, fighting, working, ain't went back. It's hard not to, but shit, I'm trying to stay free.
No doubt. You know, I want to ask you a couple things. When you first got arrested, what kind of case was it?
It was a conspiracy. They said somebody bought 5 pounds of weed a week from me, which was narrowed down to like 2 people that could be that person. But what it was is the night before the shipment came in, so we was late, so I didn't grab nothing. The next day I went and grabbed 2 kilos. So when I grabbed the 2 kilos, I come home, I had somebody that wanted a kilo in a 4-way. So I break it down, I get it in the car, I take off. I'm only going like 8 blocks over. So when I pull up, I'm ready to get out the car. All of a sudden, like, I see the blue and red lights. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm good. I got tags, I got everything. I ain't did nothing. I know I ain't speed. I'm in my rear view the whole time. I don't know where they came from. So the cop comes up, he tells me, you know, hey, license registration, why'd you go across the street so fast? I'm like, I ain't go across the street so fast. It's a hill, maybe. Like, I ain't want to get hit by a car, but I ain't speed. So he's like, he runs my name and everything. He's like, yeah, okay, everything good. He's like, can I have you step out the car to sign something? So I'm like, man, I'm trying to get out the car anyway. I get out the car, tells me, Lee Summit has a hold on me. I'm like, Lee Summit? I'm like, we in Kansas City. What you mean, Lee Summit? He like, I don't know, I just do what I told. I'm on the block, like, we everywhere around here. So I tell the homie and shit that everybody outside now looking why I got pulled over. So I tell the homie, I'm like, hey man, go down the street, tell bro to call the lawyer. So he go get the phone, call the lawyer. He hands him the phone to the cop. Cop's like, I don't know, I just do what I'm told. I have no idea. You have to contact me something. So we end up sitting. I sit in the paddy wagon for a minute. So I sit on the curb, and then the cop calls. He's like, hey, you guys need to come get him. Like, it's getting kind of sticky out here. Everybody was outside. I don't think nobody would have did nothing. You know, it's the police and shit. Ain't nobody tripping. So a truck pulls up, F-150 pulls up, detective hops out, paddy wagon pulls up, they put me in the back. Detective out the truck, hops in my car, drives off. The cop car follows it. The paddy wagon takes me to the police station. We sit in the parking lot for 35, 45 minutes, then all of a sudden we take off. I'm like, what the hell is this? Where are we going? By the way we was driving, I knew we was going to my house. So we go to my house. They pull up. They bring out my two homies that was in the inside. So the homie, he got like a knot. I guess they threw like a grenade, what's it called? One of them smoke things at his head or some shit.
One of them concussion grenades.
Man, he came here with a big old. So he hopped in the van and he's like, man, we were just playing the game. I'm like, man, don't say nothing. I'm like, don't say nothing. I got it. Don't trip. So they take us to the police station and shit. Book me. We go to the feds the next morning. They let one of them go. The other homie had a violation of probation for being in the house with the guns and shit. They found the rest of the kilo. Total, I think it was like 90-something pills, like 8 pounds of weed, 2 kilos, like 6 guns. So they hand me my PSI and shit. It says about 27 to 32 years. So I'm like, damn. I'm like, man, it's over with. Like, this is life. This is me. Like, gotta survive this first. There's just no other way around it.
I want to ask you about that, Lucas. I don't want to mean to interrupt you, but when you're looking at 27 to 32 years, are you thinking like, I mean, how are you feeling inside? Are you hurt? Are you devastated? I mean, I know you're talking about, well, this is it. This is my life. But did you feel devastated?
Yeah, I felt like there was decisions like for me, it's like a puzzle. So I try to go back and I try to figure out what I could have done different. Like why I didn't just take my chances or whatever. We had started a record label. I have a friend that's really talented. I mean, he was talented. So all of us rapped, we did music. I had a producer. I had a friend that was a producer. He was really cold on the beats. He could mix it all together, like edit, loops, all that stuff. I had another friend that could rap like tough. So my thing was more of trying to push them, so I was falling more back towards like the manager position, even though we all did music. It was Campaign Records. So we had that for about a year. So we was trying to do something different. And out of all my guys, I went the deepest. Everyone else was kind of like, just getting by to survive. But it was me that had aspirations to be the guy. Like I just wanted more. I could have made different decisions that like might have got me out earlier, but it was in my head. I'm like, damn, I'm like 27 to 32. I'm like, man, it's 2 kilos. Like it's a gun. Like that can't, like that's a life. Like, man, this shit's crazy. Like, how do you give somebody that much time? I didn't kill nobody. I know people with voluntary manslaughter, all that type of stuff get like 8 years, 4 years, 11 years, like 27 to 32 for making money because I ain't pay taxes on it or what? Like, I mean, it still baffles me that you can give somebody that much time for drugs.
There's a lot of young dudes watching this right now, probably thinking the same thing you were thinking. Man, shit, man, dudes are killing people, getting 8, 9, 10 years. I'm out here selling dope. I'm good. If they bust me, I'll do a couple years, got my money, I'm straight. But that ain't always the case, is it?
It ain't. Like, it really ain't, man. I mean, I understand what can come up, like the positions you put other people in. It's like a hand-to-hand thing. Like with it comes this. If you're out selling drugs, like it could be dangerous for other people. The drug itself can destroy lives. I understand that stuff. However, it feels like ain't nothing like ever gonna change. It ain't. There's always gonna be the next man up. It's like they need people in prison because it's a business itself. So you pick a crime that targets a certain type of person, and you're like, oh, we can fill it with that type of people. We don't need them out here. So that it's more or less what it feels like. They target a certain crime just to fill their prison so they can keep getting that money.
Let me ask you this: what was the first prison you went to?
Greenville, Illinois. It's a medium.
Okay, so you don't get the 27 to 32. You ended up pleading out, right?
I got the mandatory minimum of 15. So I had the lawyer. I paid the lawyer, which he also represented my club. So first thing the lawyer comes in and says, due to conflicts of interest, if you want to cooperate, I can't represent you because my club paying more money. Said, man, forget all that. They pulled me over and hopped in my car and drove off. Now what's in the car is mine. What about that? That's a legal search and seizure. So he's like, okay. So he files the motion, denied. He appeals the motion, denied. So time goes by, like we're doing continuances. We're still paying off the lawyer. We paid like $22,000 total. So we're paying off the lawyer. I'm getting continuances and continuances. Finally, he comes back about after 16 months of counting. And he's like, hey, he's like, I talked to the prosecutor. She said she could do 15-year mandatory minimum, but you can keep your rights to appeal because later on, laws change and you can appeal. I'm like, all right, cool. So when we go to sentencing, now that deal's off the table and it's 15 years mandatory minimum without my rights. I done been in county for like 19, 20 months. I'm like, man, if anyone knows, county is different than prison. Prison is like, you can actually you can actually do stuff. Like county is you're stuck in that 60-day in that pod. Like you're stuck in there with the same people every day. And it's just tiresome. Like, I was like, give me the 15. I don't even give a fuck no more. I remember my mom crying and stuff, and I remember looking back, like telling, like, man, it's cool. I got 15. Like, 15 is cool. Like, 27 to 32, like, we won. Like, chill out. Like, I mean, I've always been like that. Like, I always look at the brighter side. So 15, like, to 27 to 32, like, shit, I beat y'all.
So let me ask you this though. Ain't it crazy that we make our minds think, wow, 15 years in prison it's okay. We did all right. But it's only because you're facing 27, 30, 40, 50 years. Isn't that a crazy way to have to think about things?
Yeah, I've learned if you trick the mind, like I got a saying, like I always get what I want. And if I don't get what I want, I don't want it no more. So like being let down is a little easier. Like if you want to do something and you don't get to do it, you can sit there and be like, oh man, I didn't get to do it. Oh man, I want it. Or you can be like, shit, all right, I don't want to do it anymore. On to the next. It's just a coping mechanism that I guess I figured out early on.
I think many of us deal with things like that. I mean, I did the same thing. You have to find a way to deal with your situation because sometimes it's so drastic. You're like, damn, man. If not, you're not going to make it out. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, man. You see the people on the phone calling home banging out 15, 30 minutes, going right back when the time ends, going back, spending money. And they stressing the most. They stressing over there hard.
It happens. So the first prison you go to is Greenville, right? Tell me a little bit about what that's like walking into a federal prison. You're a young man. How old were you at the time when you finally got to prison?
I was 23. I might have been 20 January 2010. I'm 24. So when I get there, go through R&D, you hear, everyone kind of tries to fill each other out. Some guys have already been there. There was one guy that he's coming back on violation and stuff, so he already knows where his people at. But you're kind of wondering, like, because, you sit in county, you talk to family. I have a brother that's in prison. He tells me, you're going to have to run with the Mexicans. He's like, I got a homie down there in, because I thought I was going to get to pick where I went or put in. They say you can put in for where you want to go and then they can deny you, whatever. So for some reason, I thought Arizona. Like, I was like, which would have been a bad decision because it's all Mexican down there. And me being half white, half Mexican, that probably wouldn't have worked out too well. But the farther you get away, the more they need numbers, any group. So my brother tells me, he's like, you're going to have to run with the Mexicans. I got a homie down in Arizona. He can help you, but he can't help you. So it lets me know right now, like, it's racial. It's all race. It's all that matters. So I get to Greenville and stuff. As soon as I walk in the unit, I see them all looking. Everybody looks. So I go to the council. I get my room. He sends me to the bus stop. They have a little 8-man bus stop before you get into a 2-man. So as soon as I hit the bus stop, like 3 of them come up. They like, hey, like they start speaking to me in Spanish. I ain't speak Spanish at the time. I'm like, I speak a little bit, but I don't understand. So they're like, okay. They're like, we'll get your stuff situated, whatever. So the rep comes in. The rep of the yard happened to live in my unit. So he comes in, he's like, hey, my name is Charlo, I'm the head of the reps and shit. When you get a chance, come see me. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm like, man, fuck it, let's get this out the way. So I ain't even make my bed or nothing. I put my shit down. I'm like, I ain't think it's a problem, but I'm ready for anything. So I shoot down to his room. I'm like, what's up? He like, nah. He's like, it's nothing like that. He's like, I just want to, He's like, I'm had the Pisces and shit. He's like, shit, if you want to run with us, you can run with us and shit. Little do I know, had I not picked Pisces, being half Mexican, half white, I'd have been ran off the yard. But I find this out later, so I end up making the right decision. And my basically what set my mind is like, he said we're not a gang, it's a union. So really, you're gonna run with somebody. People say they're on man time, but whoever your friends are, who you run with. So if you got two friends that you eat with every day, and you guys are all Solanos, like you guys are all independent. If you see your friend in trouble, you're in. If he sees you in trouble, he's gonna help you. So when you have a car, it just depends on which car you pick. So they throw me the little care package, they put me in, they take me out to the yard, they introduce me to everybody. I end up running Bison. Never shied away from Kansas City though. Anyone that's from Kansas City and stuff that know me through the feds, I've always looked out. I give them a care package, I let them know straight up, hey, I'm Pisa. Still need anything, let me know. For me, if I help you out, it might be a violation later if you get into it. If it's worth cause, I'll take the violation. Like what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. I got no problem taking a violation if I'm doing something I feel is right.
Men respect men, right?
Oh man, definitely.
So you're in Greenville. Did you start getting sick over there?
Yeah, I had kind of started to get sick about a month before I got transferred to Greenville, January 2010. I had this lump on my neck that started growing. I would get cold for like 4 to 5 days. I mean, like freezing cold, like nothing will warm me up. I'd be in my sweats under the blanket, and I learned if I covered the blanket over my head and I breathe, it would warm me up some. So I learned how to kind of stay in bed and just try to warm myself. And then you get a lot of ridicule. Everyone saying you're lazy, you're sad, you're thinking about your girl, like whatever. They come up. It's a every day is like mental like war with everyone. So I took a lot of that. I started losing my appetite and stuff. I started getting like I'd eat 2 bites of like a nacho bone, I'd be full, like, and I couldn't figure it out. And then like I would go good for like 3 weeks and I would be all right. And then I go back to 4 days being cold and not being able to, my body hurting, everything. With this lump sticking out my neck. So after a while I finally go to medical probably around like July or August. I think probably like July maybe of 2010. And I tell the PO that like PA, I'm like, hey, like man, I got chills, I'm cold all the time. Takes my temperature, I got no fever. Takes my blood work. They say my hemoglobins are low. So what hemoglobins are, it's like it's the part of the blood that carries the energy. It's like your energy. So that's why I'm fatigued and stuff. That's why I'm kind of tired. So he tells me, what is it, anemic. So they want to give me these pills, like they're like, I forget what the name is of them, but they give you these pills that kind of try to help you boost up your hemoglobin, your white blood cells. So white blood cells is generally the one that's deficient when you're anemic. So I do that for like a month. This is probably around like, man, it's probably around like October 2010. So I go back in, we do blood tests. My hemoglobin's dropped again and my white blood cells. So the doctor looks at me and he's like, man, or the PA, he's like, we don't want to see this drop any lower. So I'm like, man, so they triple my dosage. So I'm like, man, something ain't right. Like, there's no way, I don't know who you are or what you can have, but to triple the dosage. So I call my mom and stuff. I'm like, hey, man, I need some help. Like, can you start calling up here? Like, can you call the warden? Can you call whoever? Call the FBI, like, because they got
Lucas, did you feel like you were dying? Were you like, damn, I'm gonna die, I need help?
When I got down to like 151 pounds, I'm 190 normally. I'm probably like 182, 183 now. I ain't been in the gym for real. So when I got down to 151, and people were starting to say that I had AIDS and shit, they thought I was HIV. Like I just got so thin. that I was like, man, fuck, man, I don't have no energy. Like, man, I remember.
Were you thinking you might have had HIV at that time? Like, what the fuck?
No, I didn't think I had HIV. I knew something was wrong, but I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't nothing like that. I didn't think cancer. Like, I was really still thinking the anemia. Like, because I didn't know what an anemic person went through. So I remember in December of 2010, I had called my brother. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, look, I'm like, I love y'all. Let my mom know that I love her, that I know she would want to say goodbye. I know, tell her I'm saying goodbye, like that I never thought she didn't love me. Just let her, because I figured if I went, my mom would. First thing people say is I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. So I'm like, tell her I know she would say goodbye, and I'm saying goodbye too. Like I felt that far down. Like it was crazy. It was probably like December 23rd, maybe December 21st, around that time. So December 30th, they happened to call me in the medical at like 5 o'clock at night, and this is a care level 1, which is everyone goes home at 2:30 basically. So they call me to medical, and I guess she had called the right person by now. So they take my temperature. I got 103 temperature, and I was like, man, I felt good at that time. I wasn't cold or nothing. I felt good. I was like, I had joked around like, hey, y'all, see y'all, I'm going to the hospital and shit when I left. So sure enough, they shackled me up and they sent me to the hospital. So when we get to the hospital, it's in Greenville. It's a little town or whatever. They get me to the hospital. They tell me, here, take some Tylenol. So I'm like, man, if I take the Tylenol, I'm a sweat, I'm a drip sweat, and my fever is gonna come back about 4 or 5 hours. Like I've done it before. I've tried it. I deal with this for about 5-6 months now. So they're like, well, if you refuse treatment, then we can't help you. So I'm like, man, give me the Tylenol. So I'm mad. I'm shackled to my waist. My legs are shackled. I take the Tylenol. I start dripping sweat. So like, I'm sitting there sweating. I remember trying to hold my head over to the side so I don't drip on myself, like just to show them, like, look, man, I'm dripping sweat, breaking a fever. So they come back in. They tell the COs, they like, we can't help him here. You got to take him to the real hospital, which is St. Barnes Jewish, I think it's St. Barnes Jewish in St. Louis. So they put me in an ambulance, and we take off to St. Barnes Jewish. So we get there, they start doing the test, they do the MRI, they do the CT scan, PET scan, all that stuff. A couple days later, it's New Year's, is around that time, so we gotta wait till like January 2nd day after New Year's for the doctors to come in because they on holiday or whatever. So they come in and they tell me I got stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Let me ask you this, Lucas, because first the doctor misdiagnoses you, right? The medical misdiagnoses you for months. This shit could have been taken care of, at least the initial steps, months before. And I think I remember when we were doing your legal work, you talked about there was a nurse there that really checked you out and was like, she knew what the hell, she kind of felt like she knew what was going on. And I think you told me back then you got lucky to have her there that night. If not, you might not even made it to the hospital that night, right?
That was in September. So rewind about 3 months. In September, I go back up. So I got frustrated. I started going to the medical like every day. I'm like, they're going to catch this with me with this fever and stuff. So I start going, and the regular PA at Asanya, he's not there. So the PA from the camp came over. They had a women's camp outside that does our landscape, cuts the grass and stuff. So she's over there that particular day. So when I go in, she's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, she's like, how you feeling? I'm like, man, I don't feel good. Like I'm cold all the time. Like I can't eat. I got this bump. So she starts saying, she's like, do you feel fatigued? I'm like, yeah. She's like, loss of weight? I'm like, yeah. She's like, fever? I'm like, yeah. She's like, all right. She's like, I'm gonna put you in for a consultation at a hospital. So I'm like, all right. So she's like, I'm not a doctor. She's like, but I think it might be, cancer or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna get to go to the doctor and stuff. This is September. A month goes by, nothing. So at Greenville, or any place like a medium or whatever, when you go talk to any CO, like warden, whoever, in lunch line, all the directors sitting there, they stand in line. If you got any questions, it's like open house. So I had to ask one of the homies and shit. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to the medical director. Come with me. So we go up there and I'm like, hey, they put me in for a consultation. My name is Lucas Cunningham. I'm like, is anything going on? They're like, oh, we still have to have a meeting about it. We'll let you know something. So that's October. So November comes. It's when they triple my dosage for that pill I was taking for the anemia that I supposedly had. So when November hit, December came, I started telling my mom, like, she got a call, she got to ruffle somebody's feathers. And then I ended up finally getting to the hospital December 30th. And I believe it's all to my mom that had put that pressure on them calling, that they brought me in that night, and things worked out to where I'm still here to speak.
Thank God, man, that ended up happening. So you end up going to the hospital. You end up in FMC Lexington, right?
Okay, first, from there, after I got diagnosed, and okay, when I was at the hospital, St. Barnes Jewish, they diagnosed me stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. They give me chemo right away. Next, like, it's nighttime, I think we took chemo. So I did a chemo called ABVD, which, if you're a cancer survivor, had somebody with cancer, it's called Red Devil, because I think it's the adriamycin or the ABVD, vinblastine, one of them is red. And so after you take it, you take it IV or through a port, you piss red for a couple times. So they call it the Red Devil. It takes a lot out of you. That's a strong chemo. That's probably maybe one of the strongest ones I've done. That's the first go-to one they go to if you have Hodgkin's lymphoma. So the first time they put a PIC catheter in me up here. They put it in. They give me the chemo. I start to get cold again real quick. Like, I start, convulsing and shit, like shaking from being cold, not from anything like a seizure or anything. They hit me with, like, I think it's like Depakote or Demerol, one of those pain pills, whatever, calm me down. They hit me with it. I calmed down. Never felt bad again. I felt good after chemo. I was so happy to have just my appetite back, just a diagnosis, just to have the diagnosis, man, everything. So when they gave me that, they take me back. So before they take me back, they put this PIC catheter in me. So the prison doesn't have heparin to flush it every day. You got to flush it twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. So they can't what's it called? Accommodate. So they pull it right back out. So now I go back to the prison. I sit there I went to another appointment, took the ABVD through IV through my arm, which they recommended not to, but I had to take it. So then after that one, I waited another week, and I was on my way to Butner, North Carolina on a private jet. What I mean by private jet is they 2 COs and me and the pilot. It's a medical transfer. So we get to Butner, North Carolina. This is the medical. And I'm on the cancer floor. The 4th floor in Butner, North Carolina is all cancer. So there's about 125 of us. I counted the beds in the rooms, and there might be a couple of us. There might be 123 of us at a given time. So I'm in there, and they do chemo at the prison. So you go to the 2nd floor oncology, and they give you chemo there. So I end up doing my chemo. I finish out my chemo. We do a scan at the end. He tells me, your cancer's getting worse. We want to do a bone marrow transplant, a stem cell bone marrow transplant, which is where they take my own stem cells, they refrigerate them, and then they kill all my cells and then put them back in and hope that it reboots the motor. So from there, I did 6 months at Butner, North Carolina at the medical. So from there, they shot me to Lexington, Kentucky. And that's when at Lexington, Kentucky, they got a 4th floor hospital, but that's hospice. So you get your own cell, you get a bathtub, you got your own bathroom, you got a TV in the room, which in the feds, it's all TV rooms. There is no TVs in the room. For state, they got the TVs in the room. So I'm like, dang, I kind of moved up. Like, the bed is nice, like, it's a comfortable bed, got the little thing that reclines up, your feet, all that. I'm like, man, but I'm glad to be off that cot. Like, that was a big deal. Like, my head, like, I felt like I had upgraded.
I want to ask you something. I want to interrupt you for a minute. Because I had been up there, you know, I used to go up there all the time and help all them old dudes out up there and try to help them dudes get out of prison, man. It was important to me. Um, we're gonna get into, you know, you being up there. I know Tupac Shakur's dad was up there. Was he up there when you were up there?
He was at Lexington. He wasn't up on the 4th floor with me, but I remember when he was at Lexington. Yes.
So when you're on the 4th floor, there was also a black dude up there that I used to try to help a lot, man. He was from Cleveland. Do you remember that dude, man? He lost like 200 pounds. He was like this big. He used to lay in his bed. His family would come visit him. Do you remember that dude?
Nah, I don't think I do. I was upstairs in 2012, and then when you got there, that was like 2019.
Somewhere around there, yeah. So that dude came after you.
So I was already way past being on hospice level.
So I want to ask you about the hospice. That's really what I want to get into. You're on the hospice floor. You're thinking, damn, this shit's all right. But are you thinking, I'm up here because I'm going to die?
No, I never really, outside of that one time I made that phone call, after I got that first shot of chemo, I never felt I was going to die after that. Like, I felt good. Everything else was just words. Like, it was almost like I controlled it. As long as I believed, like, I had a chance. I had hope.
Say that again. I got to stop you.
Going to the hospital and
I need you to say that again.
Say what?
I need you to say that again, man. You believed. You believed in yourself. That's one thing I know about you. You believed in yourself, and that's why you had hope?
Yeah, like, I knew that I felt like if the kids could do it, I could do it. I got to do it. And then I also told myself I would rather it be me than anyone else in my family and me not be able to do something for them while I'm in here. So I was glad it was me because I knew I could handle it. That's two things that really drove me and I remembered.
So, Lucas, you beat cancer, right? You beat it one time. You get it again, right?
I get it 3 times more. I'm a 4-time cancer survivor. So I do the stem cell bone marrow transplant, and like I was like when I go in there, they tell me I was like, how fast before I get back? They're like, it's usually a month, about 35 days. So I'm like, all right. I was like, I'm gonna beat that. I was like, what's the record? They said, I don't know. They like, let's just try to get through this, and we'll move on. So what I did to myself is I set a goal. I set a goal to get better. Like there was no thinking it was the end. It was all mental for me that this is just a speed bump. This is just the next obstacle to get where I want to be. So when you're laying in a bed, a hospital bed, they want to give you heparin shots in your stomach, and I don't want no extra needles in me that don't need to be, and I don't want no extra medication that I don't have to take. I barely took pain pills. I think I took them like maybe 1 or 2 times in like 2 days. Like I had a back pain later on during my second time of cancer. I ended up taking some pain pills, but this first time I didn't take no pain pills the whole time, nothing. So I tell them what's my alternative to the heparin and stuff like. They're like, all right, well you can. They got this leg machine that kind of massages your legs, but they like you need to get up and walk every day. They're like, can you do that? I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm not taking no extra needles in my stomach. So every day I would have to walk with the IV connected to my arm and shackles on my legs and walk with 2 SEALs around the hospital in the Jackie Chans.
Wow.
And when you're wearing Jackie Chans with shackles on, them things hit the bottom of your ankles hard.
I talk about that in my book, man, when they put them shackles on with them Jackie Chans. It hurts.
Oh, man, they slide all the way down. It's different. But yeah, I walked around that. I did my laps every day. And I remember getting up watching VH1. That's when they had the little music videos and stuff. Used to watch Ellen. Like just little things started me a routine. I'd get out in the morning. I'd wake up, get out my bed, make my bed, eat my dinner or my breakfast sitting down. I would sit out of my bed for a couple hours, stand up, use the bathroom, shower, just set me a routine in there. I did 18 days in the hospital on that bone marrow stem cell transplant. Around like the 16, 15 day, I find out I'm getting a visit from my mom. And I'm like, damn, I'm getting a visit. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm like, I'm in the hospital. Like, it's top secret when you at the hospital. You can't, no one know. You can't make no phone calls the night before. They put you in the shoe if you got a hospital visit. Like, it's top secret. So I'm like, how's she coming up here? Well, she's crying and stuff. Come to find out, they told the doctors that if they wanted to see me before I passed, they needed to come do it now because I wasn't going to make it. So when I see him, I'm like, I'm happy, you know. I'm like, they say I was pale. I had got this thing called folliculitis where you break out where all your follicles, like a bunch of pimples almost like I broke out all through here. I was losing hair, lost eyelashes, all my body hair was gone, underarm hair, leg hair, everything. And after they came the Friday night, they came to Saturday, and then they came to Sunday, and they was gonna leave Mondays. So Monday they're there with me during the daytime, and the doctor comes in and he's like, "You can go back to the prison." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Everything's good. Your levels came back up. Your white blood cells, your hemoglobins, everything's back up. Your platelets, which is what helps you clog your blood clog if you have a bleed, like you can go back." So I was like, "Dang!" So we was all happy, ecstatic. Like, I was happy to go back to prison. I was tired of the hospital. But it also means by going back to the prison that I'm healthy to where I don't have to be in the hospital. So that's what it meant to me. So I also think my mom and my daughter had came up that weekend seeing me. I think it gave me that extra push to keep fighting. Like, my purpose wasn't done. I still had a place on this earth.
Man, that's a hell of a story, man. And I know that, I remember when you were going through some of that stuff and you came to me, we wrote that compassionate release motion. Dude, you had one of the best cases ever. And the judge said no, he would not release you.
Ever. I had 11, 12 years in on a 15-year bid. Like, my biggest shot was like having too many stands. I had a cell phone. My biggest shot was a cell phone, but it was at a camp. So everyone's got a cell phone at the camp. Almost everyone has them in the load.
Unless you got Washer on you, right? The SIS guy.
Oh, man.
He was horrible.
He's probably, is he a lieutenant yet?
That I don't.
He's a promotion in his line somewhere.
So I remember doing that and they denied you, man. Was that kind of like, because I really believed, like, I know a lot of times I know, hey, I'm going to win this case. And I was almost 99% certain we were winning your case. I already had you getting on the bus. And then it came back and you didn't get out, man, and we lost. Was that devastating?
I had tried other things before, trying to fight. I had filed a compassionate release back when Obama was gonna, grant the clemency to everyone. I had let my hopes get up a little high. I definitely had expectations to where I was defeated, but like I said, if I don't get what I want, I don't want it. So I went back to doing what I do. And if you know me, that's poker table and ticket.
You were definitely a hustler. You made a lot of money in federal prison, didn't you? Prison money.
Seals made a lot too. Confiscate my shit.
You were definitely a hustler. The other thing you were is I remember when you were going through some of that chemotherapy, man. We were playing you guys in the playoffs, our softball team. We did end up winning the championship, didn't we? I think twice in a row. But hey, it got serious a couple times. I remember one day you were really pissed off. You remember that day? Like, I was like, damn, me and you talked a little shit to each other on the field one day. And I was like, damn, man, I'm all right with this dude. And I kind of felt like messed up about it. You don't remember that?
Nah, I played softball every year I could. Outside of the years I was actually actively taking chemo, I played softball every year.
I know.
I play out here in the world now. Like, I love it.
So for one thing that people don't know is this kid was a home run king. This kid used to hit home runs, like big shots. You remember that?
Yeah. I remember like a couple, like there was one time I think, because my fourth time having cancer, the chemo wasn't as strong. And I'd go take chemo and come out either the next day or sometime that week and play. I'd be on the field playing.
Really, man, bringing you on the show, man, it's good to bring you on because you're a dude that never gave up. But had you not pushed and your mother not called, they would have let you die in there. It's a good possibility. You were misdiagnosed for months and months, right? Yeah,
I've known some people that die, like, man, from not getting the proper help, not getting enough help. It's really like, if no one on the outside cares about you, your chances are hard. It's hard in there if you got no one up there putting outside pressure on them. I've seen guys give up, and that's part of the defeat from not being helped. Like at Butner, with that fourth floor, you can see it when guys are just defeated. Like they're not eating. Like big thing, you gotta eat when you're sick, man. When you're not feeling well and ill, food is a big part, which is they give us malnutrition in there. Like they don't feed us right. There's if you think there's a diet plan in there or something, there's no diet plan. I was supposed to be put on a cruciferous diet, which is like all green vegetable diet. If they served green beans that day, that was, I guess, them fulfilling my diet, and they don't do what they're supposed to. The odds are stacked against you in there by far.
Horrible, isn't it, Lucas? Medical don't really give a shit about people, do they?
It's hard. You try to understand because, like, a lot of guys go in there and they probably try to get out of work by getting that lay in so that they get time off for work, so they go in there faking injuries. But it doesn't excuse that if someone says they have something going on, a pain, or if they feel sick, that you don't at least give them the benefit of the doubt. Like,
do you remember that white kid that was from Illinois? He had that big hole in his ass. Do you remember him? I mean, that had to be one of the worst things I ever seen. Like they did an operation on the kid. It was this big. Then it got infected, and they just let him linger, and the shit was this big. Do you remember that?
He was all tatted up.
Yeah.
Young kid too. He's probably 30 something maybe. Like, yeah. I remember I never seen it. I never seen the hole, but I remember seeing him and being on the yard. I said he was on the weight pile. Like, just see what I had heard about him. Everyone knows everything, so I knew who he was and what was going on, but like never talked to him about it. I seen him on the weight pile and shit.
So Lucas, like I said, man, you were a dude that was determined. You didn't give up, but. Did you have any friends, man, that were like that you got cool with up there that ended up dying? Guys that gave up and didn't make it out?
Man, when I was on the fourth floor at Lexington, Kentucky, there was a Native American dude up there, and see a lot of things that like helped me out was a lot of people when they get sick, they got other things going on. So they'll have Hep C, they'll have like diabetes and other stuff going on. Native American dude up there. Cool dude. He ended up passing, man. Like, it was just his liver, I think, was giving up on him. He was turning, jaundice, where he turned yellow and everything. There was another white guy up there. I wasn't as cool with him, but I knew him. He had did the actual bone marrow transplant, not the stem cell one. And like he would put his arms on the table, and they would like bleed from him just putting his arms on the table and stuff. And it had spooked me a little bit. And but I knew that my transplant was a little different. He had other stuff going on that might have complicated his, but I was still a little nervous. I remember telling the dietitian.
Did he die?
She came in. Yeah, he passed away.
Dude, I think, was he there when I was there? Is that when he died?
This is 2012.
There was a dude up there in 2019 that was like that. Like he was just bleeding and stuff. He asked me, man, remember they couldn't have sodas and shit like that up there. And he asked me, he said, dude, could you please just buy me a 6-pack of soda, man? That's all I want. And I bought him a 6-pack of soda, man. Sad,
he was on his deathbed. Like, sometimes it's all it is. Like even out here, if someone's, just defeated, like they just want to go out how they want to go out, like or the little things that they used to. But when I was on the fourth floor before I did my bone marrow transplant, there was a dietitian came by, and it was like maybe 4 or 5 days before my transplant, and she came in and she was like, "Hey, how's it going? Like, are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I'm all right." I was like, "I'm a little scared and stuff." It's like, why do if I say no to this treatment, I get no treatment at all? Like, it just feels kind of like I have to do this treatment, because if I deny it, it's refusal, and I refuse all my treatment. And I was like, it's just kind of hard that a board gets to vote and decide if I'm worthy enough to even get the stem cell bone marrow transplant. Because before you receive $1 million worth of medical attention out there in the world, they vote on it to see if you're worth saving. And I was a little crushed by it. And so I'm telling her, I'm opening up and I'm letting it out, kind of, explaining what's going on with me, my mental, because I also heard that a lot of people that admit that they're scared before they do a serious operation have like a 70% chance better of survival rate. So I was, I was trying everything. Like I was pulling out stops. Like this is the life decision. Like I gotta make sure that I follow what the percentage like was working for people.
Ain't that sad
And
that
she tells me,
a group of
go ahead.
people get? That's sad that a group of people decide whether or not you're going to live, man, or get the treatment to possibly live.
To get the treatment if you possibly live, to see if you're worth saving. It's crazy. And then so she looks at me and she's like, I can't believe you. She's like, you're so ungrateful. She's like, to even say that. She and like walks out. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't do nothing. Like I was crushed. I was like, I'm not ungrateful. I started like second guessing myself. Like I'm more than grateful for everything that I have. Like even in prison, like I have great family, great support system. I, you know, I was like, man, it like kind of crushed me because it was more of a shot at my character than anything else. And I stand up about my word, like everything. If I say something about you, I'll say it to your face. Like there's nothing for me to hide. How I feel is how I feel. And that kind of like crushed me just a couple of days before I went to that bone marrow transplant. And like I'll remember that forever. Like the way that lady looked at me in disgust and called me ungrateful and everything.
Some of them people are the most nastiest people you could ever be around in life. Do you agree? Keep it real, man.
Yes, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. I'm a big believer in majority rules, and the majority rules in that category.
No doubt. So look, man, you're home now. You're free. You beat cancer 4 times. How's it feel to be free, man?
Man, it feels good. I remember it took me about 4 or 5 days to actually like sleep. I couldn't sleep when I first got out, and I attribute it to my mind racing. Like I want to go set up my bank account. I want to go get my ID. I want to get my driver's license. I want to start my job. I want to do this. For anyone getting out, it takes about 4 or 5, maybe 6 days for you to actually get some sleep. I don't know how many people went through it. I've talked to a couple that had the same problem, but it's it's the sleep, man. When you first get out, it's hard. It's impossible. Impossible.
No doubt. So listen, Lucas, you're making good money. You're taking care of your family. I see you got a lovely. I don't. Did you get married yet or no?
Beyonce, wedding's coming up April 8th.
Ain't that something, man? You went from almost dying in federal prison to getting married. You're out here taking care of your daughter. You're working a good job, making great money. Hey, man,
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. And dude, for real, you were a dude in prison where dudes looked up to you. You had a lot of influence. You had a lot of power over there. And you're out here doing everything that, you said you would do, everything that you believed you would do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So a message, man. You're out there getting money. You're in the streets. You're in the hood. You're selling drugs. You're selling cocaine. You're carrying guns. All that shit's behind you. What would you tell a young man or even your younger self that was on that journey that you were on? What would you tell him, man?
Man, it's hard because I know what it's like. Like as I think about it, like the girls that you're trying to appeal to, they like every woman wants a man with money. Why not? Like, because you can provide, you can protect. It's like the basic instincts, but it just ain't that important. Like, just wait. There's still right people. Just because you're in the now doesn't mean you have to have everything. You can work. As I see guys with 20, 30 years in their job and building retirements, that's more attractive to me now versus when I was 18, 20 and just looking like I had money. Like, it's there's a long game in it. It's not the short game. You start on the bottom at a company or wherever, doing whatever you love. If do something that's not a job to like for you, like you're doing law work and helping people. I'm sure sometimes it gets heavy, but it's also what you love to do. So a lot of times, more than less, in majority rules, it's not a job for you. When it pays off, when someone sends you that thank you letter, when you actually get someone free and they shed a tear, and you see that actual emotion, it's probably better feeling than having a gold chain and a watch and a nice car and having everyone admire you back then. I just think that like being out there and not like it's different now. Social media wasn't out there when we was out there, but I think it's just take that long game, man. Like plan for the future, because there will be one if you make the right decisions. Because I used to assume I wasn't gonna make it long, and man, 36 now, and I'm here.
No doubt, man. You've been through a lot, man, and your story's a real story of redemption, man. You came back and you didn't die, man. You didn't give up, and like you said, man, dudes that give up, man, they die in there. I seen it, bro.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of people die up there on that hospice floor, bro. But
Definitely.
I'm gonna close the show, Lucas, man. I'm gonna thank you for coming on, sharing your story, sharing your experiences, man, and I wish you all the best in life, bro. And I'm just happy that you're alive and you're free, bro.
Thank you very much. Have a big day. Thank you for the opportunity, man. I'm glad I get to speak.
No doubt. So look, man, I'm gonna tell people, man, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video, because it's not just about prison, it's about hope and redemption, man. With respect, until tomorrow, Blood on the Razor Wire TV, we're out.